Hello. Today General Hospital will reveal exciting events in the next 2 weeks from July 21st to August 1st, 2025. First, during the week of July 21st to 25th, tension will rise across Port Charles as new alliances form and shocking revelations begin to surface. Isaiah Gannon, known for his quiet strength and moral compass, will emerge as an unexpected pillar of emotional support. In a rare public moment, Isaiah will give a powerful and heartfelt speech directed at Portia Robinson, encouraging her to remain resilient in the face of increasing threats and uncertainty. His words, grounded in personal experience and empathy, will not only impact Portia but ripple through those quietly observing in the background, signaling that the cracks forming in the community require solidarity more than ever. Meanwhile, Martin Gray will slip into his usual role as a reluctant truth-bearer. He will approach Tracy Quartermaine with information that is not just critical, but also deeply personal. This update, while still cloaked in secrecy, may pertain to long-buried Quartermaine business dealings or something even more dangerous connected to recent disappearances. Tracy, always shrewd and rarely caught off guard, will take the news in stride, but her expression will betray concern. Martin's cryptic hints and the urgent tone in his delivery suggest that whatever is brewing may already be out of control, forcing Tracy to reconsider whom in her inner circle she can still trust. Elsewhere, Laura Collins will face her own storm. After piecing together fragments of conversations and discrepancies in police reports, she will come to a devastating conclusion: Marco Rios is missing. Her instincts, sharpened by years of political and familial crises, will immediately point her towards Sonny Corinthos as the primary suspect. Sonny, who has become increasingly erratic and territorial, had the motive, the resources, and most importantly, the timing. Laura, though cautious, will begin compiling evidence in silence, preparing for a confrontation that could shatter alliances built over decades. She knows too well the danger of underestimating Sonny, but this time the stakes are too personal to ignore. Amid this whirlwind, Sidwell will hold a press conference that shocks the entire town. Known for his measured, calculated public persona, Sidwell will veer off script and deliver a speech filled with emotion and unexpected candor. Rumors will swirl immediately. Did he just confirm that he accepted Sonny's proposal? Or did he just declare war? The ambiguity of his words will send both his allies and adversaries into a spiral, as no one will be able to tell whether he has made peace with Sonny, or is setting him up for a much larger betrayal. What becomes clear, however, is that Sidwell is no longer a passive observer in the town's darkest dramas. Although Sidwell tries to project strength and stoicism, it becomes increasingly obvious that Marco's disappearance is affecting him more than he admits. Behind closed doors, he will be seen grappling with a growing sense of fear and guilt, replaying his last conversation with Marco and wondering whether his own decisions led to this. There's a vulnerability now that makes Sidwell more human, yet also more unpredictable. His emotional turmoil might push him to make rash decisions, especially if he believes Sonny is manipulating the situation for his own gain. At the same time, Sonny is not sitting still. With each passing day, he becomes more aggressive, more determined to silence those who challenge him. The kidnapping crisis gives him cover to flex his influence across multiple fronts, intimidating officials, manipulating evidence, and sowing chaos. Whether or not he truly knows where Marco is becomes less important than the perception that he does. Sonny thrives in this atmosphere of fear and suspicion, and the more others scramble, the more control he seems to gain. This is not merely a personal feud for Sonny, it's a strategic escalation meant to remind everyone who still rules the streets of Port Charles. But Sidwell is not without cunning. Though emotionally frayed, he begins to craft a quiet counteroffensive. Through indirect channels and subtle maneuvering, he seeks out those who still have the resources and courage to resist Sonny's empire. He taps into Laura's suspicions, draws on Martin's legal instincts, and even considers forming a fragile understanding with Tracy. Sidwell knows he cannot confront Sonny head-on, but a coalition of discontent may be enough to tip the balance. If Marco's fate can serve as a rallying point, then perhaps the fear that Sonny has so carefully cultivated can be turned against him. As the week draws to a close, Port Charles is left in a state of quiet dread. Loyalties are shifting, threats are whispered rather than shouted, and the boundaries between justice and revenge grow increasingly blurred. Portia, though strengthened by Isaiah's words, still faces an uncertain future. Laura quietly prepares her next move. Martin watches from the shadows, calculating the cost of truth. And Sidwell, whose motivations remain as murky as ever, continues to straddle the line between vengeance and survival. One thing is certain. This conflict, fueled by power, fear, and the desperation of those who've already lost too much, is far from over. Second, in the unfolding emotional tangle across Port Charles and beyond, Elizabeth Baldwin will come face to face once more with Liesl Albrecht in a meeting that promises closure rather than confrontation. Time has softened the edge of old resentments, and what once festered as silent blame has faded into something more forgiving. Liesl, once consumed with grief and fury over Britt's death, had at one time cast aspersions toward Elizabeth, letting her pain find a scapegoat. But now, in a rare moment of clarity and calm, Liesl will assure Elizabeth that there is no hatred remaining, no lingering grudge. This moment will not just bring emotional release for both women, but will also signal Liesl's subtle transformation. From vengeful mother to someone ready to honor her daughter's memory in more meaningful, less destructive ways. Though Liesl's words offer healing for Elizabeth, they echo further than either of them realizes. As Liesl finally lets go of her misplaced bitterness, she opens the door to re-engaging with Port Charles not as a threat but as a possible ally. Elizabeth, though initially cautious, begins to see Liesl in a different light. Not as a monster of vengeance but as a grieving mother who, like herself, has weathered storms and emerged changed. The interaction becomes a pivot point, potentially setting the stage for renewed collaboration at the hospital or even unexpected alliances when further secrets about Britt's fate emerge. Liesl's emotional shift is subtle, but unmistakable. Her future actions may now be rooted more in redemption than revenge. Meanwhile, Jason Morgan finds himself pacing the corridors of the Paris airport, driven by a whisper of a possibility, that Britt Westbourne may not be dead after all. His instincts, sharpened over years of dangerous pursuits, scream that the woman he saw boarding a plane was either Britt herself or someone eerily identical. Jason, always the silent hunter, tries to board the same plane, only to be blocked by practical constraints. He has no ticket, no reservation, and no time to waste arguing. The window closes quickly as the aircraft lifts into the sky, leaving Jason behind, staring at the clouds and replaying every step in his mind. But Jason isn't one to give up. The flame of suspicion has been lit, and he will follow it to the ends of the earth if he must. As Jason regroups and studies the flight path, he learns that the plane is headed to Dubrovnik. With that clue in hand, he arranges to board a later flight, using his network of contacts and old WSB connections to quietly secure safe passage. His mind races with possibilities. If Britt is alive, who is protecting her? Why did she fake her death, or was it faked for her? Jason knows that the answers lie ahead, and Dubrovnik becomes more than a location, it becomes a crossroads where truth might finally surface. For him, it's not only about Britt. It's about correcting a failure, a regret that never truly healed, and facing the weight of the past he's tried to bury. Elsewhere, Dante Falconeri and Lulu Spencer are plunged into turmoil when they receive a troubling update that sends a jolt of panic through their carefully maintained calm. Their son, Rocco, has expressed a passionate and unwavering desire to meet with Liesl Albrecht, a decision that immediately sets off alarm bells. Given Albrecht's history and her volatile reputation, Dante and Lulu are understandably wary. They know how dangerously entangled Liesl's past has been with criminal operations, revenge plots, and moral ambiguity. The idea of Rocco getting close to her, especially now, as tension simmers beneath the surface of the city, frightens them. Despite their protests and warnings, Rocco's resolve will only harden. The young man, driven by questions about Britt and his own place in the legacy of Port Charles, sees Liesl not as a threat but as a key to understanding himself. He is determined to sit with her, to ask questions no one else seems willing to answer, and to form a connection with the woman who may hold pieces of the puzzle surrounding Brit's mysterious past. Lulu, watching her son grow into a man who refuses to back down, feels a mix of pride and dread. Dante, ever the protector, begins weighing whether to confront Liesl directly or allow the meeting under strict supervision. Rocco's actions begin to draw attention from others, particularly from those who know more than they're letting on. His curiosity, while noble, may end up stirring dormant secrets that many would prefer stay buried. Liesl, though touched by his outreach, senses danger in the timing of his questions. She may be ready to let go of grudges, but the web surrounding Brit's alleged death, and now possible survival, is woven too tightly with powerful, secretive hands. If Rocco pushes too far, he could attract the notice of those monitoring Brit's movements or worse, provoke those responsible for her disappearance. As tensions rise, Port Charles becomes the stage for converging pursuits. Elizabeth and Liesl cautiously rebuild their understanding, Jason inches closer to uncovering a life-altering truth in Dubrovnik, and Rocco charts his own perilous path toward answers. What began as scattered emotional reckonings now evolves into a layered drama, with every thread pulling tighter. If Brit is alive, then someone has orchestrated a deception so deep it implicates multiple power players, perhaps even those within the hospital or the WSB. And if Brit is truly gone, then why do the shadows keep shifting with such intensity? Something doesn't add up. By week's end, nothing will be resolved, but the stakes will have increased exponentially. Jason's pursuit is no longer just about love or guilt, it's about justice and redemption. Liesl's path toward healing may be interrupted by a resurfacing threat. Elizabeth may be pulled back into a drama she thought was behind her. And Rocco, once just a curious young man, might become the accidental catalyst that forces secrets into the light. The heartbeat of Port Charles is quickening, and beneath its surface, something long buried is beginning to stir. Third, while Lucy Coe prepares to extend a glamorous invitation to an undisclosed guest, likely tied to an upcoming deception event or charity gala, Ava Jerome finds herself emotionally destabilized by a situation she did not anticipate. Known for her cool poise and razor-sharp intuition, Ava is not easily rattled, but something about the events unfolding around her disrupts that balance. It may be a sudden glimpse of someone from her past, or perhaps a mysterious delivery that invokes memories she had locked away. Her reaction is uncharacteristically subdued, signaling to those closest to her that something serious is bothering her, even if she refuses to admit it outright. In the midst of her emotional confusion, a situation arises that leaves Ava in a vulnerable state, perhaps a confrontation, or even an accident, that allows Cody Bell to step in unexpectedly. Despite their very different personalities, Cody's timing is perfect, and he manages to protect Ava or help her navigate out of a tense moment. Whether he's genuinely being heroic or simply in the right place at the right time, the effect is the same. Ava begins to see Cody in a new light. What starts as gratitude may evolve into a complex emotional tether between them. Cody's charm and loyalty, often overlooked by others, begin to make a subtle but undeniable impression on Ava, who has always been drawn to danger veiled in kindness. Elsewhere in Port Charles, the tension between Kai Taylor and Trina Robinson reaches a painful crescendo. Despite Kai's repeated attempts to apologize and prove his remorse, Trina cannot forget or forgive the betrayal he inflicted upon her family. The emotional wounds run too deep. His past decisions, possibly involving secrets about her mother or alliances that put the Robinson family at risk, have cost him any immediate chance at redemption. Trina, while visibly affected by his pleas, stands her ground. Her strength, born of heartbreak and disappointment, only solidifies her resolve not to let herself be manipulated again. Kai's regret is real, but Trina's boundaries are firmer than ever. As emotions flare across town, the wedding of Willow Tate and Drew Kane begins with high hopes and elegant splendor. Guests are seated, music swells, and the air is thick with anticipation. The setting is beautiful, almost too perfect, and that in itself becomes ominous. Underneath the carefully arranged floral arches and glowing candlelight, several attendees harbor secrets capable of upending everything. Drew, standing at the altar, tries to suppress his guilt. Willow, radiant but fragile, is unknowingly on the brink of devastation. For all their shared dreams, the foundation they've built is cracking beneath their feet, and neither realizes how close they are to collapse. The question looms, who will detonate the truth first? Nina Reeves is in attendance, her expression a volatile mix of nervousness and defiance. She knows what she and Drew shared, and she knows it wasn't just meaningless. Whether Curtis Ashford or someone else speaks first, the fragile piece of the ceremony is destined to shatter. All it takes is one whisper at the wrong moment, or one bold interruption during the vows, and the entire wedding will descend into chaos. Guests begin to sense the tension, casting wary glances between Nina and Drew, and even Lucy's attempt to maintain the celebratory tone falters under the weight of so many ticking emotional time bombs. Eventually, the truth comes out, and whether it's delivered via an accidental overheard conversation, a drunken toast, or a calculated confession, Willow learns the devastating reality that Drew, the man she was about to marry, had been sleeping with her mother. The betrayal cuts deep, not only because of the act itself but because of the long months of lies and deception that followed. For Willow, this isn't merely infidelity, it's a collapse of everything she thought she could trust. Her sense of family, loyalty, and love shatters in one brutal moment, and the echoes of that pain reverberate through the room. The aftermath is explosive. Willow, heartbroken and humiliated, may flee the scene, leaving guests stunned in silence. Drew, scrambling to explain, finds no safe harbor as his choices are dragged into the open. Nina, who initially tried to keep her composure, ends up overwhelmed as accusations and harsh truths are hurled in every direction. Curtis, depending on his role, either supports Willow in her exit or condemns the secrecy that has led to this emotional wreckage. What was supposed to be a celebration becomes a public spectacle of betrayal and shattered illusions. And in the corner of the room, Lucy, clutching the invitation she never got to deliver, watches everything crumble. As Port Charles reels from yet another scandalous public meltdown, the fallout will be far-reaching. Ava, still sorting her own conflicting emotions with Cody, may now be drawn into the chaos if she chooses to support Nina, or if Nina, desperate for someone to understand her, turns to her. Trina, hardened by Kai's betrayal and now seeing Willow's emotional devastation firsthand, will become more determined to protect herself and those she loves. The wedding that was meant to unite now divides, setting off a ripple effect that pulls old enemies closer and pushes once trusted friends apart. And in the shadows, those who orchestrated or benefited from the reveal quietly celebrate, knowing that chaos always creates opportunity in Port Charles. Finally, during the week of July 28 to August 1, the world of Willow Tate is expected to unravel completely following the catastrophic fallout of her failed wedding to Drew Kane. What was once meant to be a celebration of love has turned into a personal catastrophe of betrayal, humiliation, and emotional devastation. The revelation of Drew's affair with Nina Reeves, her own mother, continues to reverberate through her psyche. No amount of explanations or apologies from Drew seems to repair the damage, and Willow finds herself spiraling into another mental health crisis. The weight of lies and public disgrace is too much to bear, and her carefully constructed sense of stability collapses inwards. Friends and loved ones try to reach her, but Willow withdraws, her once calm exterior replaced by a haunting stillness that hides emotional chaos brewing beneath the surface. As the days progress, the signs of Willow's mental fracture become more evident. Her behavior shifts from despondency to erratic hyperfocus, particularly on her children. Consumed by the belief that Michael Corinthos, her former partner and father of her child, is no longer a safe presence in their lives due to his complicity in Drew's deception, Willow begins to view herself as the only protector her children have left. She grows paranoid, convinced that everyone around her has been keeping secrets or betraying her. This mental deterioration brings about a chilling determination: if she cannot trust Michael to raise the children, she will take them herself. Quietly, she begins making plans, researching custody loopholes and travel options, preparing for the possibility of a desperate and impulsive abduction. Meanwhile, Drew Kane is unraveling in his own way. Having lost the woman he claimed to love and being exposed as a manipulative liar, he begins a descent into something far darker. Always calculated, Drew starts to weaponize his grief. His obsession with regaining control over Willow's life twists into dangerous behavior. Friends and colleagues begin noticing that Drew's temper flares faster, his threats grow bolder, and his strategic mind now operates with fewer moral constraints. If Willow were to leave with the children, or worse, if she disappeared without a trace, Drew might resort to surveillance, coercion, and even illegal tactics to bring her back. He tells himself it's about love, but to everyone else, it looks like the rise of a man who can't stand losing power. In the background of this emotional implosion, the escalating feud between Sonny Corinthos and Sidwell erupts into full-blown warfare. What started as covert threats and territorial disputes turns into visible bloodshed and open retaliation. Both men unleash waves of intimidation across Port Charles and beyond. Sidwell, once a quieter figure behind the scenes, now demonstrates he is just as ruthless as Sonny when pushed.